Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We're going to try to do this every Monday night. We've subscribed to a new service. We have this live stream available to us. The advantage of doing this, I think, is that you can give us questions, comments, and we can try to respond during the show, create this community, and go from there. This is not going to change the audio podcast. We're still going to do that. Nothing's going to change there. You're still going to have to listen to Jacob's terrible takes on audio podcasts as well as this video podcast.
Okay.
He might... What is it? Squeeze blood from a turnip, right, Jacob?
Don't try to say it right now.
All right.
You said it wrong live. You can't take that back.
I did.
I still even squeeze blood out of a turnip. I've never heard of that either. I had to Google.
I know. I said squeeze liquid, and I guess blood's a liquid.
You just said squeeze that turnip. That could have meant anything.
Did I? Okay.
It sounded dirty.
I said squeeze liquid. Yeah. You've accused me of that before. But anyways, we're not here to talk about turnips. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine, which just wrapped up. We're going to touch on the NFLPA survey that came out last week. And we're all, free agency's a week away. The tampering period starts a week from today. So by the time we record next week, Jacob, we may be linked to some free agents. So that'd be cool. And hopefully during this week, we're going to be, maybe re-signing some of our own. But anyways, Jacob, how you been? How was your weekend?
Good, man. At home, hanging out. What about you?
Yeah, watched a little bit of the Combine with my son. I was surprised that he wanted to watch it, but we watched some of that. Pistons game was awesome on Saturday. That's like my gripes about NBA basketball, like no fight, none of that was, there was plenty of fight in that game. I loved it. I loved the emotion. So that was my kind of NBA game.
Are you glad that I talked you back into it?
Yeah. No, I'm happy. I mean, honestly, Jacob, it's more my son because he's interested in it. So it's on the screen. So I'm watching it. And I tend
to. He was not interested into it either, though, right? Like, when's the last did he? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's just all of a sudden the resurgence of the Detroit sports and better basketball.
It's better. We have a chance and we've been winning. And I'm not, I don't want to get into a bandwagon or talk or anything like that. But you cannot argue that it's more fun to watch a team that's competitive and is, especially in a sport that I'm not like crazy about. But I love sports. I love competition, and Pistons are providing both of those. So I'm down with that.
It was difficult last year. Obviously, it's not a Pistons podcast, but it was difficult last year during the midst of that incredible losing streak. Just like. And Cade Cunningham had said, too, like, we are not this bad. We're not as bad as, this record is showing. Mm-hmm. And it was just one thing after another every night. And then you have to trick yourself as a fan to watch these games and be like, tonight's going to be different. And, certain level of heartbreak in basketball. I think it's just one of those things because there's 82 games, it's easier to take a loss in basketball just as it is easier in baseball. In football, every game means that much more.
I know. Yeah. We talk about tricking yourself into, thinking we're going to win a game. I mean, I was there plenty of time as a Lions fan, right? I know you were too. Like, all we have to do is do this and we can win. Or, the ref would have made this call, we would have won. Like all those type of things that you make excuses for a bad team or a bad organization.
Even during that 0-16 season, though. I mean, there were a lot of close games in that season, but did it not feel like, man, we are just not going to get it done? Like we're just... The fight looked gone in the team, and dark days. We don't have to bring that up right now.
No, it's similar to what I think Bears fans went through last year. Like, all right, we're competitive, but how are we going to blow this in the last quarter? I mean, what stupid mistake are we going to make? What player is going to make that mistake? Which coach is going to make that mistake?
Yes.
It was all on the table for the Lions during those years. And not to say that we don't make mistakes nowadays, but our talent level, the coaching level has increased that we could afford to make a few mistakes and still come away victorious.
Yes.
All right, Jacob. Combine was this weekend. Did you catch any of it?
I don't usually watch the combine like live as it's showing up. I actually did watch a little bit with Milo, the last day. I prefer to cut out some of the dead space and just try to watch the clips, see some of the interviews. Always interested to see who the Lions are interviewing, see the formal interviews. Those are the people that they have their eye on right away, right? So, I mean, kind of an inside track as to who they're looking at right now. What about you?
Positions they're looking at, right?
Absolutely.
Tell by all that. The combine to me a lot of time, like there's some interesting things. The 40-yard dash is only interesting for me when what was that? I forget the wide receiver that said he was going to break the record. I can't remember his name, Jacob, but
it was a Texas wide receiver. Isaiah Bond, I think.
Yeah, Bond was his last name. So we were keyed in on that because he said he was going to break the record. Well, he went and disappointed everyone and did 4.44, which 4.4 is a good speed. I mean, don't get me
that's
wrong.
Hilarious. 4.4, and you're like, oh my god, this is slow.
I know. So I have a question for you. Would you rather have? I mean, I like to, under promise, over perform. This is like kind of the opposite. He over promised, underperformed, but still his number is good. What would you rather have a prospect do? Like go out and show the confidence that he did? Or would you rather just, not use his words and, go out and blow the 4.4 and be like, I'm proud of a 4.4?
This may surprise you because of how I perform in our workplace, but when it comes to sports, I prefer do more, say less. As far as this goes, you're not on a team yet and everything. You're here just trying to showcase what you have. I'm definitely a fan of just, let's just show what I have. Let me, go through the motions. I'll show my drills, run the 40, do the bench, do whatever you have to do, but don't necessarily be too loud or, you're already under a microscope at this point. You're not trying to get recruited for anything. There's no, once you're on a team, you can talk trash and do whatever you want like that. I'm okay with that. But this, I think, like I said, do more, say less.
I just think he set himself up for failure because the 4.4 is good. I mean, 4.4 is good speed. And now you're disappointed in 4.4 because he said he was going to come out and do a, 4.2. And he said 4.1 if I'm feeling good that day.
Yeah, right.
He's going to really show out at his pro day to validate any of that.
Yes. And I mean, he, was one of the faster wide receivers. As like you said, it was a good 40 time, but if he wasn't already feeling pressure, just trying to come out there and run, he did after that. He was talking up there. Maybe he was just kind of running off the mouth or doing whatever. And then that one held a lot more weight maybe than he thought it was going to the point where I did not actually see this myself, but I heard that they booed him after the second run. Like when he'd had the second run and didn't break the record again, the fans there actually booed him.
Yeah, well, he set himself up for that.
Right, right. I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, I know that after he said that, I purposely watched him run. Like his words got me to watch him, but that's going to be my impression now of this guy was that,
this may follow him around for years.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that was the guy at the combine that said he was going to break the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you're the bark doesn't match the bite.
Yeah, I know. But it's just, I don't know, just a simple thing like that. He needed some media relations training before he went out and talked, I think.
Yeah.
How do you want to start this out? Do you want to go through who the Lions met with? Like, we don't need to go through this whole list because there's 30, but I've got.
I was just going to say, if you got anybody you want to pinpoint or just interesting things you thought about the formal interviews, we can just do that.
Yeah. So first of all, I think all the numbers and stuff. You asked me last week, Jacob, do I think the numbers mean anything, or to that something to that effect? I'm paraphrasing. And the more I thought about it, it's like there's so much data out there. I really don't think, much has changed. Much will change the minds of these execs based on how someone's run. I think two things could happen. Number one, you could have, you can only watch so much tape. Someone could perform so well that maybe you go back and revisit tape and be like, okay, I need to look at this player again. So that could happen. But I think really what it comes down to is meeting these players and finding out who they are as a person, especially for like a team like the Lions that want football players or, they're drafting a football player, and they want to know that all this guy cares about is football. So I think that, we're not privy to any of those interviews. And even last year, we didn't even get to see the interviews after the fact, because the previous years on the Inside the Den, we could they let us inside the room. We could kind of see it, but I think the Lions,
and that was a great watch.
It was so good. I loved it. And I think a lot of people were disappointed that we didn't get that look last year, but I also couldn't understand why they're maybe don't want to give away all those secrets or give away too much. Or maybe they don't want, maybe it'll give away like what players we were looking into and give away something for the future years, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can have up to 45 formal interviews, right? And you get, I think it was 18 minutes with each player. So it's like how many different, and I know you hear some of the players say like the ridiculous questions that they get asked in these combine interviews. I haven't heard of anybody talking about the Lions asking them too ridiculous. It seems like they're pretty down to business. We got 18 minutes to find out what this guy's about and if he's going to fit our locker room, if he's going to fit our team.
Yep. Yeah, I think some people, though, sports like hell just gets in there. We're going to rattle this player. We're going to try to figure out, I think the Lions, at least from the Jahmyr Gibbs, they ask him a few questions. They show him a play. They ask him to break it down. 18 minutes is not that long.
Right.
We've been talking for 12 minutes already. All right. And
yes,
and we haven't said anything meaningful yet,
This is episode 64, and I'm still waiting for something meaningful to come out of you.
Exactly.
No, but I don't hold the numbers hold no weight to me either. I also agree that I kind of think it's just the interview process. Maybe somebody, a lot of these guys that are on the fringe, this is probably a really good opportunity for them, because if you are on the cusp, if they're maybe your 4th, 5th round pick or something like that, and then you come out and you run the fastest 40 time, then your name's out there. And then I think you made a really good point that if something like that happens, then people are like, well, let's go back and look at this tape. Let's dissect this guy a little bit more. And then maybe you do improve your draft stock. A lot of these guys at the top, I know you hear it a lot, like their tape, the tape speaks for itself. A lot of them come up with that answer. Do you feel like that the tape is enough at this point?
I would think so. I mean, the only time a tape wouldn't be enough is you got an injury, right? You want to see how he recovered. You got someone that, maybe just came out 1 year and they don't have a lot of tape out there, right? So you're still trying to figure things out. But if I have tape available, I'm going to trust that a lot more than any combine notes that I'm going to gather. Yes, tape doesn't lie for the most part, unless there's an injury or something like that, or some new information that's come up.
So then how do you feel about some of these guys that are at smaller schools? So if they're going to say, the tape doesn't lie, but for instance, Mike Green, the edge defender, somebody we had a formal visit with, somebody that, a lot of people have their eyes on right now. He played for Marshall. So, it's like Mid-American, maybe the competition wasn't as tough. Does that tape hold as much weight as somebody playing in the SEC? Or do you think that really matters? Because obviously he's blowing up, he might be blowing up the offensive tackle, but he's also blowing up an offensive tackle that is not going to make it to the NFL.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of projection, and that's where your good scouts come in, right? I mean, they got to be able to project that. That's a skill and an art and all that, all those superlatives that you want to use. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't have that job, but they have to look ahead and see that tape. I mean, they're going to be able to, you better hope that they're blowing them out. Let's think about it as baseball projections, right? You got a guy in Double-A. You expect if you're going to bring him up, he's killing Double-A pitching, right? Or you're not going to bring him up. Same thing. If I got a small school, I'm going to hope that he's either got measurables and I could see enough that I'm going to be able to coach this guy up, or he's just a man above boys in that league and is destroying competition. Now, you still don't know if he's going to come up and how is he going to do when he hits a brick wall, when he hits a Penny Sewell. How's he going to react? Is he going to be able to overcome that? And, that's where people at big schools like Alabama, that's why I think the Lions draft those big-time schools, Iowa, Alabama, that play good competition. You kind of know what you have. Playing it a little more safe there, it's kind of hard to project those smaller schools. You look at Colby Sorsdale, who we drafted from, William & Mary, a small school. Hasn't been active very much, right? And so our projection may have been off, or maybe he's going to take, a little bit longer time to develop than what we'd all like. We want him on the field. But what about you? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think it goes both ways. Obviously, you have to go off of the tape, right? There's people overanalyzing this, but I do think you have to take that in consideration. I think that's maybe how sometimes people both, one, get burnt, so maybe they get drafted further because of the school. They fall lower than they should have because of the school and because of the competition and everything. And then vice versa. You might have somebody that played in the Big Ten or SEC and played pretty well against competition, or so it seems, and maybe their measurables are better, so they get drafted higher when really they're not a better player.
Yeah, it's hard to go. You look at Trey Lance, quarterbacks Trey Lance got drafted way up there, had very little competition. Anthony Richardson had, good at Florida school, but he had very little tape. He had like a year of a starter, and you're projecting him based on body height and, what he can do. That's why I'd rather have a guy with 2 or 3 years of reps as opposed to breaking out for 1 year. You got a little more assurance on your draft pick.
Yes. That's funny because just the whole case of Anthony Richardson, like the tape that he put out there was not good. There's no way that they were looking at tape and they were like, okay, yeah, he's making good reads. He's making good decisions. No, he did none of that at Florida. But they got him in the combine. They said, oh my God, this guy's whatever he was, 6'5". Look how fast he is. Look how fluid he's moving. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's playing great when they're out there in spandex on the field in Lucas Oil Stadium, but it doesn't always translate.
Playing in pajamas, as
Dan
Campbell likes to say. Were there any of the interviews that the Lions had that you want to hit on, or you were surprised at, or you were glad to see?
Yeah, so I was glad to see, some of the edge defenders that they had up there. I think that was, to be expected. The linebacker, Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, that was an interesting one for me because he's projected first-round pick, top linebacker in the draft, but he may be there at our pick. Do we go linebacker first round?
He might be a linebacker, but they might be playing more at edge. They might project him at edge.
Right. Another interesting thing that I saw, or a trend that I noticed, I guess, is that they had some formal visits with tight ends, and none of them were tight ends that were towards the top of draft boards. In fact, most of them were projected to be undrafted free agents. Like some of these guys are, the Alabama tight end, I don't even know how you say his name, Robbie Outs, maybe. His prospect rank is 668. And that was a formal interview that we took. I only found, I think, 32. So I don't know if we took more than that and they're just not disclosing it, or maybe they did not. I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, even a couple of the other tight ends, which I tried to watch some tape from these guys, and, I don't know. It's just interesting to me because that's also not exactly a position of need, right? What are your thoughts on, having interviews with tight ends like that?
Well, I expect them to have interviews with tight ends, but I also wonder, like, some of these interviews they're trying to find out information about other teammates too. They might have eyes on someone else and they're going to, pick their brains about the player, but also they might just throw in a question about a teammate just to learn a little bit about them.
So you got Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech. I don't know who they'd have their eyes on Georgia Tech. Thomas Findone out of Nebraska. Yeah. Also undrafted free agent. Don't know who they'd be looking at Nebraska. And then, you got 2 tight ends from Alabama, so who knows what's going on there.
Yeah. They have all those late round tight ends tell you that they're not thinking of drafting one pretty high, right? I think they're pretty happy with Brock Wright and Sam Laporta. So it'd be just a matter of, someone further down the list, or they could think that tight end might be an offensive lineman too. I don't really know the size of those guys, so I don't know.
The 2 that I saw, 2 of the 4 I know are definitely like bigger body, kind of like receiving tight ends. And the guy from Nebraska, his own fans were knocking him like he can't block to save his life. Like that's not typically somebody we bring in here.
No.
So yeah, I was just very, very interested by that. Also interested that there were a couple quarterbacks on the list.
Yes.
Did you see that?
I wanted to hit on that. Another thing that you could say about these interviews is that they could be special teams players too, undrafted free agents. We might be looking at them, get him in for camp and use them for special teams. But Jaden Milroe from Alabama was in the formal interview. Very interested in that one.
Very interesting. Right. Second round grade on Jalen Milroe right now. So, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I know Dan Campbell's not going to waste his time. If there's a formal interview, they must have something that they're looking at, something they want to ask him, something they want to do. The other quarterback that they met with was just an informal, the quarterback out of Memphis, Seth Hennigan. But yeah, the Jalen Milroe thing was surprising to me, especially with all the Hendon Hooker rumors that have been floating around that teams are calling about him, inquiring about trades for him, trying to trade a draft pick for Hendon Hooker. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not sure that they're ready to pull the plug on a Hendon Hooker. I think that's all been out of shape because of bringing Teddy Bridgewater in. And if you're on the outside looking in, I think you see, they must not trust Hendon Hooker. We're going to bring in Teddy. Number one, Teddy has a special relationship with Dan Campbell. That's number one. I think he was brought in just to add something to that room. Number two, I'm going to trust Teddy Bridgewater in the playoffs more than I'm going to trust Hendon Hooker. It is. Hendon Hooker hasn't done much. He's been in some mop-up duty, right? But you get in the playoffs, you saw they went right to Teddy when Goff, had that potential concussion in the Commanders game. That's all that was. And I don't think it's like, hey, we're going to give her on Hendon Hooker. Now, let's say someone offers a second-round pick for Hendon Hooker. Okay. Maybe we do trade him, and then you go with Milroe, use that pick on Milroe, and then you have extended the clock because you still have Goff. I could see something like that happening. I don't think anyone's going to be giving up anything of value for Hendon Hooker. It's not like he showed too much. But
here's the deal, though. He has shown a lot of promise in college. Get back to the tape thing. And, I mean, he's shown flashes. He's shown ability. Some of these teams may be desperate to get a quarterback, especially, like you said, that second round. That's a lot of what I'm seeing the projections are. Is it maybe a second round, maybe a third round gets Hendon Hooker. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's necessarily as much us giving up on Hendon Hooker. Like, he's not worth it or whatever. I think it's more so, he's a peacock. You've got to let him fly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you only got those guys for 4 years, right?
Right. We're running out of time with him, and he's 27. So, the offense is tailor-made for Jared Goff. We're not changing anything around like that. Goff's the quarterback for now. It's going to remain that way until Hooker's contract is up, obviously. So you let Hendon Hooker go, get a second, third round pick, and if you got your eye on this guy, not that I think Jalen Milroe is a better prospect or better quarterback than Hendon Hooker is, but he is 22. So maybe he's got the upside. We'll do the same thing with him that we did with Hendon Hooker.
Yep. I mean, sometimes having that hidden, no one knows what Hendon Hooker's potential is in the NFL or what he can do. And sometimes having that is better than having him go out there and show anything. Like sometimes it's best to just have that secret, and then people take the chance, and give you. I think a second round pick would be crazy for him. I don't see any team doing that, but people do crazy things for quarterbacks. And we talked about Trey Lance drafting him third overall. Just people do crazy.
I mean, there was
things.
potential for first round before Hendon Hooker got hurt.
Oh yeah,
right. So I mean, that's maybe they're playing upside here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think anything comes of that, but I saw a crazy thing about the Titans, because they got the number 1 overall pick. Making a play for Hendon Hooker. That's it was total clickbait, but I was like, it's just that time of year where everybody's throwing things up there and see what sticks.
That's the perfect storm for a story too, because of Hendon Hooker being from Tennessee. How many Titans fans you think are like, oh my God, I want this. I hope this happens.
Yeah. Any other players that you saw on the board that we took an interview with that you were excited about?
I wouldn't say excited. I mean, it was cool just being a Michigan fan to see Kenneth Grant get an interview. He's also somebody that's, potentially going to be there where we're picking later. A few cornerbacks on the list. I think overall there's a good mix, a good spread of guys around here. It wasn't which I think there has to be. I mean, you can't do the formal interviews and you interview 20 first round prospects. That's not going to get you anywhere. No. So there was definitely a good mix. Was surprised by how many people had undrafted grades on here, but you're looking for the needle in the haystack. You're looking to see what you have on these guys. Maybe some of these smaller schools, too, if you're not going to be able to go to the pro day, you're not going to be able to see them as close. Maybe you want to get a chance to talk to them now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say anybody else that's necessarily surprising. I know there were a couple of receivers on there, too. The Stanford receiver, I don't even know how you say his name. Alec Aomanor.
That sounds
I'm not sure how you say that.
That's
Second round grade on him, but, somebody that we visited with, and, we talked about that, too. There's potential for a receiver there.
Yeah.
Would you go receiver round 2, though, with the need for the edge and the building within the line? I mean,
I just want a player, and I expect them. Brad Holmes said, our lines, we're built through our trenches. So I expect us. If I had to bet, we're going to either go offensive line or some sort of edge,
right,
or defensive tackle in the first round. That's the
safe pick.
Say. That's what I think that they'll do. But if they have an eye on a wide receiver and he falls, Brad Holmes will pick him. I mean, there's no doubt. I just think that, with his comments on, toughening up the lines, and I don't buy into it that we definitely need to draft an edge in the first round. I think that we could develop someone on the outside, but would I like to have someone that's a higher round pick at edge? They tend to, if you get a higher round edge, they tend to do better than edges that are drafted later on. There's a correlation there is very high between first round picks and later. But also I think that just like quarterback, edge players get overdrafted just because that affects quarterback play, rushing the quarterback. You're gonna pull the trigger a little bit earlier on those type of players, just like a quarterback. Everyone's like, oh, you can't get a quarterback past the first round. Well, that's because even with a second or third round grade, they might draft him in the first round because if you want a quarterback, you just don't let him slip. But, I was going to point out the Michigan players. We did, Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Man, after the flag stuff, I don't want him on my team.
Hard pass.
I know. And then, Miko was on the show last week, and he just did a tape on Donovan Jackson. So you could check that out on Pride of Detroit. We also did a formal interview with him. You got marked on here a second round grade. So it's conceivable that we could pick him up at the end of the first round. I could see us going offensive line for sure up there at the top.
And I mean, I'm sure that they'll put the first round grade on. I forget how many people was last year. Was it like 7 or 8 players or something like that? They had a first round grade on last year. I expect probably something similar, maybe a little more with what I'm hearing about this draft class. If one of those guys is there, maybe we pick him there. I really feel like trading back is probably going to be a really big move here because some of these guys are going to be available at the beginning of the second round, and some of these teams are going to be trying to get back in the first round to get that 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like trading back is going to be most likely.
When you have those late first round picks, trading back is a real option because, like you said, teams want to trade up and get there. I like Brad Holmes having more ammunition. Pick up a second and a fourth or a second and a third, and then, there's a player that you want to pick and you use that ammo to jump up and get them, and you still, you end up with the extra draft pick, but you really get the player that you wanted to begin with. So I'm hoping that works out, in that way. But Brad Holmes also shown that he drafted at the end of the first round, last year, and he jumped up and got Terrion. And that was good because Terrion slipped because of all the quarterbacks and offensive players that were drafted. And I was glad that he jumped up and got him. And I think we're gonna be really happy this year that we jumped up and grabbed Terrion.
Yes.
All right. Anything else in the combine that you wanted to talk about?
Nope, not for now.
All right.
I'll analyze this over and over again and probably overanalyze everything as pro days start up. But yes. That's my first impression of the combine interviews.
Yep. All right. Last week, NFLPA surveys come out. NFLPA survey came out last week. Lions players, all players around the league got to vote on various topics. Don't have to get into all the nitty gritty on this, but was there any, they voted on like treatment of family, food, dining, training staff, coach, anything that stuck out to you, Jacob, when you saw these grades?
Obviously, the head coach, we got an A+ on Dan Campbell. which I expected that, right? Didn't you? I mean,
Yes.
I feel like that was a given.
Yeah. 5 coaches got, in that category as the same as Dan Campbell, which actually I thought was a little high. But there are players that come to this team, especially for Dan Campbell. So if you got anything less than an A+, I would have been shocked.
Yeah, the lowest grade that we got was on the locker room. We got a C+.
Mm-hmm.
And there are teams that got F and F minuses on this. I don't, if you guys haven't seen these report cards, it's kind of interesting to click and see where these, because, these are anonymous surveys from the players. Mm-hmm. And for instance, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, they got F minuses on the locker room. How bad do they have to rate you to be an F minus?
Yeah, I know.
Insanity. And, some of the categories, treatment of families, there's teams getting Fs there. Food and dining area. It's 2025 and you're an NFL team, multi-million dollars. You should have all the nutritionists, all the, that blows my mind that anyone could get an F in food.
Yeah, the Lions for a while were really bad in that category. They had a small dining room. I guess there's limited space in the training center. So that was always the case. They got B for nutrition this year. I guess some of the players want, better choices or whatever. All that, I'm happy about 2 categories. First, you mentioned head coach. I think that's very vital. And ownership. Ownership got a B+, and Sheila deserves that. I think that she deserves an A. I don't know.
Right. I was just going to say, I kind of expected that to be a little bit higher where we've been versus where we're at.
Right. So,
but that's okay. That's still positive.
No,
because the New York Jets got an F in ownership.
Yeah. Do you expect anything less than that? We were strike coaches A-, which is good considering all the injuries we had last year. They players believe that they're, being treated well and stuff like that. So I'm happy with that. Training staff got B, training room B+. Where all our categories are pretty good. The lowest that we had was, like you mentioned, was the locker room, C+. I don't know what they want. I mean, if you look at the Bengals got an A, but they have their locker room's crazy. But treatment of family for them was F-. I'd rather be C+ in locker room and be treating the families correctly rather than having this awesome locker room.
Right. I don't think the locker room is bad, though. That's another one that's I don't know, the Bluetooth speakers aren't good enough in your locker. I just don't, what are they looking for, I guess?
Yeah.
How bougie do you have to be? Did you see, there was a picture when they released this, because the Patriots got an F in the weight room, or the training room facilities or whatever, and I saw a picture, and it looked terrible. And it was actually a picture of the weight room. And somebody had commented and said, this was one corner of it, and it looks better than this picture. Go look it up. When you think about the NFL weight room, you think about, the plates are loaded with the team logo, and they got nice benches, and, they've got well-ventilated area and brand new racks and stuff like that. This looked like it was straight out of the 80s or 90s. Looked like regular, iron or rubber plates. What is this?
Let's try to find those.
I think somebody else got an F in weight room too. The Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals did not do so well in this survey.
I guess the Patriots get a new locker room. I see that. So I was trying to find I'll look at it up later on. But yeah.
Overall, I think the overall ranking was 9th out of the 32 teams.
I'm happy with where we're at.
Right.
I see A+ in head coach, and that's all I need because he's going to get the right people here. That's all that matters. All right, let's jump on to something a little more fun to talk about here. Free agency is coming up next week. So a week from today will be the legal tampering period. So we'll have some contract numbers out. A week from Wednesday, so the 12th is when the league year starts. So that's when contracts can be officially signed. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to hear a lot of numbers, a lot of people being assigned. Just to be careful, there's been a couple people being linked to teams on Monday and Tuesday that when it comes to the start of the year, they sign somewhere else. So nothing's official till Wednesday. So that'll be interesting. I want to start with you, Jacob. I went I went through all the Lions. Let's talk about the Lions' own free agents. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to go through this list really quickly. All I want to know is two questions. Do you want to resign them? And number two, do you think they'll be on the team next year?
Okay.
I'm going to go through real quick. Carlton Davis.
Yes, I want to resign him. No, I don't think he's going to be on the team next year.
Marcus Davenport.
That's a tough one because obviously he was hurt the whole year. So it's like, if he's willing to take another deal that reflects the fact that he missed the whole year, I would be open to taking him back, right? See what he's got. Position of need still. He knows the defense. He knows the team a little bit better. So I would be open to bringing him back. My gut tells me that he's going to be wanting the same kind of deal he got before. He's going to be wanting just as much money. So I'm going to say that no, he's not going to be on the team.
I would have to give him per game bonus checks.
Right.
And they won't count against this year's cap because they'll be unlikely to achieve. The next one, I think I already know your answer. Kevin Zeitler.
Yes, I want him back. And yes, I think he's going to be back.
Yep. I'm with you there. Player that got hurt last year, John Kaminsky, unrestricted free agent. Do you think we're going to get him back?
No, he's just one of those people that seems like he really likes it here. We've given him an opportunity and everything. So I'm sure he would be open to coming back. I'm not sure, have we gotten everything that we've gotten? Have we seen everything that we need to see out of Kaminsky? I don't know. I'll say no, he's not going to be on the team next year.
I think they give him a shot. I just don't know if he's going to be able to make the team next year.
Yes, right.
Another
Good
year
point.
older coming off the injury. This next one's interesting. Emmanuel Mosley. Are we giving him another shot?
I don't know how you can. I mean, it sucks because I like Mosley and, he definitely deserves opportunity, right? But it's year after year, he just can't stay on the field. He's taking up a roster spot. I'm going to say no, that they move on.
I'm with you there. Levi Onwuzurike.
Oh, man. I hope he's back. Yes, I want him on the team. Man, that's tough because I feel like he has put enough out there where he could probably get a bigger contract maybe than what we're going to try to offer him or what we're going to be able to work. I'm going to say yes, he's back next year.
Okay. Go with Khalil Dorsey.
I like Dorsey. He's special teams and everything. Obviously had a really bad injury last year. I'll say he comes back. Maybe he's not back at the beginning of the season. Maybe he's somebody that's out there, whatever, recovering. Maybe he comes back, practice squad, see what he got.
We're going to need some cornerbacks back where our depth's pretty shallow there. Kindle Vildor. You think he's going to come back?
This dude must just have an incredible personality and be a really good teammate and really good in that locker room. I mean, just because there's been so many times, he actually did show some flashes last year. When he got put out there, he did make some plays. So I will definitely give that to him. This just not consistent enough. And he's not somebody, if there were injuries or something, where like we have to start Vildor. It was almost like the sky was falling last year. And it's like, please don't put Vildor out there. It's like we just, we can't. I would have rather had Dorsey than Vildor. So I just don't.
I'm okay with him being far down the depth chart. He looked really bad in that Colts game and got a bad rap, and that was the injury. Terriani got pulled up, but he looked much better throughout, after that game than he did in that game, and then he got that terrible call in Chicago too.
Right, which was not his fault. No, he definitely showed flashes. So I mean, I would not be disappointed by him being back on the team. But just me saying right now, no, I don't think so.
But Iffy. I know you like Iffy.
I really like Iffy. And that's another one that's like, what he's put out there, what kind of a contract can he get elsewhere? Because he's not going to be able to get very much here because he's still going to be in the same role player. We got Branch Kirby. He's going to get playing time here. He's just not going to be, an every down starter. Maybe that opportunity presents itself somewhere else. So I'm sure they would want Iffy back. But I think if you're Iffy, you're trying to go somewhere where you're going to be able to play more. Maybe he likes Detroit enough that he wants to come back, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's on someone else's team next year. Too bad because I like Iffy, but he also, hasn't played a full season,
right.
since he's been drafted. So,
and those, if you're Brad Holmes, you probably have that talk with his agent. That's what we're talking about. They don't care. What he's put out there has been pretty good, so they're going to try to find a team willing to pay him and give him a chance to start.
Yep. Next one, offensive lineman Dan Skipper. He thinks Skip's back.
Where else is Skip going to go? I think that's another one of those things where it's going to be tough for him to make the actual roster, but I think he'll still be here during training camp. Or he might be something where, if we do decide we're going to let him go, injuries happen or something, I'm sure Skip will just be waiting by the phone for Dan Campbell to call, and he'll be right back here.
With, a lot of it depends on Manu, too. Like, I know everyone said that he looked light night and day last year, but he still had a ton of growth that we, since we saw him preseason. Did he make enough to jump to move up? Because Dan Skipper played a lot. I mean, we're playing a lot of heavy sets. So Dan Skipper, I know he's not a starter, but he's playing a lot. So you're going to have to replace all those snaps with someone. I don't know if that player is necessarily on the roster right now. We could pick someone else up or draft someone.
Right.
So Al-Qadim Muhammad, edge player, think he's back?
I don't think so. He also, he struggled a lot. There were a couple really big plays that he made too. So, shouts out to Al-Qadim for, having a good couple plays and showing up in big moments. But I don't think he would have really been on the team this year if out for the injuries and everything that we were dealing with. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, he could end up back in our practice squad or something like that. Let's practice squad players get
somebody
called
that's familiar, up. Right? Somebody that's familiar with the team and somebody that's just giving them a chance here. Just also likely because the roster spot's probably not. You don't have a better chance anywhere else, I don't think either.
Yep. Craig Reynolds, Netflix, come back.
That's tough because I really like Craig. I think Craig likes it here too. That's a real toss-up for me because I like Craig and I would take Craig back, but I don't know. With Vaki back there, I don't think Craig comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. He's pretty good at special teams, so I could see him come back, but maybe slip into RB4 if they, if Vaki made the improvements.
I would like for Craig to be back, yes.
Yeah.
I just, if I'm making a prediction here, I think he probably goes elsewhere.
Yep. All right. Tim Patrick, wide receiver. Think he's back?
I think maybe this one plays into how the draft and everything goes. He also had a pretty good, after being kicked out of Denver, he comes here, makes some good catches, showed some flashes, also showed his ability to pick up the offense really quick. Maybe there's a chance somebody's willing to offer him a multi-year deal or something like that. So maybe he tries to go elsewhere.
I think he's going to be back with us. I like that he showed up more in the red zone as the season went on. That means him and Goff are getting on track together. I think Patrick's going to be back next year. I'm hoping he is. I like him as a player. Last one, Jacob, and I say kind of one of the big ones for last. Derek Barnes. This is a huge one.
I like Barnes. I want Barnes back. Just like some of these other guys I mentioned, though, is the price right? He's coming off the injury and everything like that. How much money are we talking? How much is he wanting? I really would like to have Barnes back. Are we going to be priced out? I don't know. If I'm making a prediction here, I'm going to say that Barnes is on the team next year.
I hope so, too, especially with Shep coming in as defensive coordinator. I think that gives us a leg up because Aaron Glenn, he could. I think Aaron Glenn, if he goes somewhere else, it might be the Jets, just because I think him and Aaron Glenn. But yeah, if we could, this week, if I could find that we've re-signed Derek Barnes or Carlton Davis, I'll be really happy. Honestly, if we get both those guys back, I'd be pretty happy.
Carlton's a big one, man. Yeah, that would be really nice to have him back. It would ease my mind going into the draft and everything too.
Yeah. So let's talk about another cornerback that talking about coming back to the Lions, right? Darius Slay cut or announced to be a post June 1st cut this year. He's going to be out there. Obviously he has history with this team. You and I both liked him when he was with the Lions. Got the raw end of the deal during the Patricia era. Are you interested in having a reunion with Mr. Darius Slay?
Big play Slay. Come on. You knew writing this up. I have a Darius Slay jersey. I love Slay, man. I was really happy to see that he got cut by Philadelphia. He recently had said in a podcast, like he, if not for Philadelphia, he would be up for maybe coming back to Detroit. It's also going to be a question, does he fit what we're trying to do? If we have Carlton back, does Darius Slay want to come back and just be a locker room presence and not get as much playing time? And if he is going to do something like that, how low of a salary are we going to be offering him for that? So there's a lot of things that have to go into play here. So I don't know that he's really going to come back, but I 100% would be on board with that.
At what price are you interested in bringing Slay back?
Did you have
a number in mind?
I'm going to put a dollar amount on it. I mean,
I'm just wondering say right now he was averaging, I think he was 13th. He's 13th overall in quarterback salary before the being cut. He was going to be the 13th. Like, if this is taking average salary of player, that includes their signing bonus and their guaranteed. You could go down and look and who's making more or whatever, but average salary 13th overall, and that was at $13 million. I don't think the Lions are a player at $13 million, but what number are you comfortable with? And for just this year?
I mean, you would have to go considerably lower than that, like 6 or 7, right? I mean, you have to cut that number in half, I think, because I just don't. I don't know if we have obviously we have a cap room, but I don't know if we have the ability to offer, especially, I guess this is saying if Carlton comes back, because Carlton was at like 13 or 14 million or something like that. I know we took on the dead money and we moved some of that money over or whatever, but if we get Carlton back, I'm assuming it's going to be around that dollar amount, right? Or probably higher than that.
And it'll probably be around $20 million a year. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the cap hit will be, but his average salary is going to be
going to have to go up, right? So let's say if we get Carlton back, I mean, and Darius Slay wants $10 million, you're bringing Darius Slay in probably third string, right? Maybe, you don't even know for sure. That's just it's a hard sell to offer him that much money and to not be able to offer anything guaranteed. And I definitely don't want him to come in and take more reps away from Terrion or Rakestraw. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Amik played really well last year, and I think Amik said like $4 million or something like that, $3 or $4 million. So, the dollar signs doesn't make sense. The fan of me wants him back here, but I also think we're a much better team if Carlton comes back and we stick with the guys we have.
Yeah, if we get Carlton back, we're not going with Slay, unless Slay's taken like lower than what I think that he values himself. I just don't see that happening. However, if we don't get Carlton, I could see Slay being at play here. Now, scheme fit and all that, we'd have to check on that. They play more zone with Philadelphia. He doesn't also play the run especially well. So if we don't get Carlton, it would be nice to have Slay as a veteran presence on that side of the field and a veteran presence in our locker room at that position, especially. I just don't know how all that's going to mesh out, right? You don't know how, can he play man, or are the Lions going to play as much man? We have a new defensive coordinator. Shep may play that differently.
That's a great point. Yeah, because before you had said the thing about Shep and the defense, just Slay's not great in run support. He's not great in man. And, there were several times where he got beat last year. I also think if you're Darius Slay and you just won the Super Bowl, now here you are, looking for a different spot, how low do you go? Where do you want to go? Because, I mean, a lot of these times they're like, they want to go to a contender. They want a chance to win. He just won. Mm-hmm. Does he want to come back to Detroit and finish his career here? Does he want to try to win another one? Is he going to try to get one more paycheck before he retires? There's a lot at play here. Mm-hmm. I definitely think if we do lose Carlton, Darius Slay does not slot in where Carlton did. It's not like a lateral move. I think that we would be downgrading. I don't think we would play as efficiently.
I just think that you need some veteran cornerback play over there if
Absolutely.
You don't get Carlton back. Because, we're hoping that Rakestraw makes some push to be a starter at somewhere, or if they move Amik out there on the quarterback 2, Rakestraw does the nickel. There's a lot of things that could happen. But regardless of whatever happens, we need some more veterans in that room. We just need to have dependable people that can come in and play. They say you need at least 3 corners in this league, and we saw it last year. Carlton went down. We were lucky enough to have a Meek move over, and he did a great job at cornerback too. Injuries are going to happen this year, so we just got to make sure we have proper depth. I just don't know if you sign Darius Slay to be your cornerback too. I especially with our defense. I don't know if you do that or not. And I don't know
if the price is right. Right. If the price is right. I don't know if he comes
here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's got to line up, so it's going to be tough. This is not a serious thought, but Jonah Jackson, another former Lion, has been, he's been available for trade. Would you be interested in any at all with a reunion with him? Because I could see a place on the team, to be honest with you, especially if Zeitler doesn't come back.
$9 million salary, $11 million in dead money.
I think the dead money's on them.
Well, you got to come back after being outcast. Well, I don't want to say outcast, but after Brad Holmes, basically, we were right. We were right to let him go. We got a cheaper option in Zeitler, who played better than Jonah Jackson did last year. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think we talked about it before. I think Jonah only played in like 2 or 3 games. He had the injury, and then he got benched. Was that, the Rams coaching staff and everything, if he came back here, would he be able to slot right in? I definitely want no part of a trade. If they cut him and he wants to come back at a lower salary than $9 million, okay, potentially, because he's familiar with the offense and he would slot right in. But I think that's over. We're going to get cheaper options in the draft.
I'm not. I mean, and he hasn't been. I know he was injured last year, but he was also injured the previous year with us. So, I mean, you're going to have to get him back on a cheap rate, cheaper than $9 million salary. The $11 million dead money, that's on the Rams. They're going to take that. But, if you were to trade for him, you'd take on his current contract and you'd have a $9 million base salary this year. I don't think that's worth it for the Lions.
Do you think that they actually do trade him?
The Rams trade him?
Do you think that that's actually like he's gone?
Well, I'd be surprised if they trade him. I won't be
dead
shocked
money and
if
everything.
he gets cut. Yeah,
right.
I don't know. But they treated him raw, man. Brought him back, put him at center at some point. It's like, I don't know. It made Brad Holmes look like a genius.
You lie on the job application. Okay, I can play center. I play center all the time. Yeah,
that's right. I play.
And they're like, okay, we need you to play center. He's like, oh no,
they've caught me in my own lie
once in the last 3 years.
All right, let's quickly. It's Darius Smith. So he's got a $2 million roster bonus that's due on the third day of the calendar year. Do you think he has? If they take him on, then we're taking on some dead cap money and everything in that contract. We could cut him, Zadarius, now and get zero dead cap money. Do you think that the Lions cut Zadarius? Do you think we restructure? Do you think we resign? Cut and resign? What's your feeling on what we're going to do with Zadarius?
I mean, can we really? When did you say this was going to be? March
15th.
March 15th is when we basically have to make a decision here. I don't know.
By that time.
Right. I don't know how you would cut him before then. Right? I mean, you don't know what you're going to be getting in the draft. You don't know what else you have. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to cut him. You look like you feel the other way.
I don't. I feel like they're going to cut him. I think that $6 million this year, $6 million. Then you take the dead cap hit. I think that is more than they're going to be willing to take on, because our cap money the following year is dropped down a lot, because that's when a lot of the contracts really take hold. I want Zadarius back on this team, but I want him back at a reasonable rate. Now, they could restructure his deal and he could get all his money and try to erase some of that dead cap hit, maybe take more of the cap hit this year and do something so that he could get more money, but we take less of the cap hit. It's the way the Browns structured that deal. They put on a void year, and then it's a little complicated in the contract how they did it. But if essentially,
from what I'm seeing, I don't think that, because the Browns are on the hook for whatever, $4 million, then $14 million. But if we cut him, I would have to look into this more. But if we cut him now, then we're zero dead cap. we save $4 million. But then if his contract runs next year too, right? Or is this the last one?
Next year is the void year. And if we get the way the contract is structured, I looked this up, we get stuck with a $6 million dead cap hit next year. We pay $6 million for him this year, and we get $6 million dead cap or cap hit next year. It's just the way the contract's structured.
Well, see, that makes things different because if you're talking about dead money next year, then,
yeah, that's
maybe he is replaceable for him to be, he's 33 right now. So,
I know. Because you're looking at him, you're hoping that he's, edge 3 or 4, and you're bringing him off and, you're bringing him out when you have, whoever you're going to start out there, Pascal, a player you draft, someone like that. But also it's going to be much easier on the other side with Hutch out there this year. So we'll see. But I don't know. I think that they move on from him or they restructure his contract. Those are the two options. I don't think he plays under the current contract with the Lions.
No, not with the dead money like that.
Yeah. All right. We're wrapping up on an hour here. I kind of want to wrap this up. But real quickly, 5th-year guarantees came out. The money for the 5th-year guarantees came out, and that applies to 2 of our players, Aiden Hutchinson and Jameson Williams. Aiden Hutchinson, we're going to probably pick up the 5th-year options on both of these. I think they're pretty much no-brainers. Aiden Hutchinson's going to make $19.8 million in this 5th-year option. They have to make this decision by May 1st, so it's right after the draft. The Lions have to officially announce this. The next one I thought was interesting was Jameson Williams. Is going to cost us $15.5 million on his 5th year. I think it's obvious that we're going to take him. Do you agree with me or?
Yeah, we talked about this before. Because JMO had the suspension, all the things, he's only eligible for just that basic 5th-year option. So I definitely think that we pick up the 5th-year option. I also feel like with JMO that we probably let him play this one out. With Hutch, his 5th year is a little bit more expensive. He had the playing time, I believe, and he also had the Pro Bowl. So that's, plus just the position a little bit higher. Hutch, we definitely rework a contract right now. I know Brad Holmes also said that or hinted about it, during the last press conference that he had. So Hutch is definitely getting a contract extension right now. Be interesting to see what they do with JMO. I think the 5th year is guaranteed. I think we definitely will pick up the 5th-year option. But I don't know about, the extension and dollar signs. Maybe that's a conversation they try to have right now before JMO goes for 1,000 yards again and all of a sudden is a lot more expensive, but it'll just be interesting.
Yeah. I think they let it play out a little bit. They're going to definitely pick up the option. Just so for perspective, the 3 players that would make around $15.5 million per year right now to be in the same boat would be Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, and Tyler Lockett. Those are the 3 players, and I think I'd rather have JMO than all those guys. So that tells me that it's pretty much a lock to,
Absolutely.
take that contract. But we'll see. It'll be interesting if we sign him for a long-term deal. I just don't know if I'd stomach that. I don't know as a fan how I'd feel. Be happy because I like JMO, but also, man, I would not feel as confident as I say with Hutch. Hutch is a no-brainer. Can't wait to see that numbers and come out, and we'll be fine.
Okay, but now, if we're just talking right now, what number would you be comfortable with? An average salary for him?
For JMO? You talking about?
JMO.
Man. And I don't even know. God, to be honest. I mean, the number goes up every year, so you're going to probably pay him more than you feel comfortable. But do I think he deserves top 5 money? No, but maybe in the top 10? Probably is going to happen, I would think.
To get him at top 10, we'd have to pay him at least average of 27 a year. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. When you're already paying Amon-Ra 30, and there's a lot of other positions. That's why it's tough. It's also why it's interesting to hear, or to talk about, do we take a receiver this year and see what we have?
I don't know how you pay both those guys, to be honest with you, but
you can't pay everybody. There's going to have to be someone in the core is not going to be able to get paid.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? I mean, would you pay JMO $27 million a year?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Which is tough because we like JMO. The city likes JMO, and he performed last year. I guess, we'll see this year, but I don't know exactly what kind of numbers I would need to see out of him to feel good about $27 million a year, because I just don't think he's ever going to be. We know what JMO is. He's a threat downfield. He's a threat on a cross. Anytime he touches the ball, he can take it to the house. He's not going to be what Amon-Ra is and be your reliable third down target. He's not going to be able to find the seam. It's just tough. For you to pay somebody that much money, I think that's also the conflict that the Bengals are having with T. Higgins right now, right? Because T. Higgins wants to get paid, and T. Higgins is a good receiver. Good, not great, maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's the conversation that they're going back and forth on, because T. Higgins, I know he got franchise tagged again. What is that for? Like 27, 28 million or something. It was around that, I think.
Yeah.
T. Higgins is wanting 30 plus. T. Higgins is wanting like top 5 money for not top 5 production.
Yeah. I franchise him.
If we do the same thing with JMO, right?
Yeah.
Who breaks? I don't think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are going to fold if that's I don't think they're going to give in and just pay him top dollar if that's what it comes to.
I think it's tough to commit so much money on that. And it also, for me, I'm not a downer on JMO with all the stuff that he's had happen in there, but
that means nothing to me as far as the little suspensions and the different, that.
I don't think it means nothing to me, because when it keeps happening to the same person, I don't think someone has that bad of luck. But I'll go back to what Dan Campbell said. He's happy with them. I think it is 100% a maturity thing with JMO. It's 100%. And he'll grow, and hopefully he grows out of that.
I feel like he got past that this year, though. They had the whole gun thing or whatever, but that was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, I agree. No,
that's why I was saying, I mean, as far as the suspension, the betting and,
mm-hmm.
I don't think he's done anything so terrible.
No, but when you're committed $27 million to a player, especially if it's going to be a 4 or 5 year contract, you better be darn well sure that, there's no other small slip ups here and there, because
somebody's going to pay him that money. That's the tough part, is that somebody's going to pay him that money.
Yeah.
Nope. And there will be no hometown discount, I don't believe. So that,
No, but also it's just if you take away some of his speed, he gets banged up at some point, then he's not going to be as dangerous of a player. So I don't know. I would have trouble stomaching $27 million for him.
The cap's going up and everything too. And
yes,
like I said, if he busts out another 1,000-yard season and shows some more consistency and everything like that, then then we do have 2 top 10 wide receivers basically, and you got to pay them. That's the position. That's what you got to do.
Yep. But then
you'll just have difficult questions for other positions elsewhere.
That's what I was going to say. You only have so much money, so you got to figure out what you're going to do with that. Yeah. Well, with the way the thing is that some of the stuff that JMO does is you don't even look at his stats. It's what space he's creating for other players, and that's hard to measure. The Lions can measure it just because they know the play they're diagnosing up. They can look at that and say, this play, what doesn't happen if they double Amon-Ra. We'll see how it all shakes out. But as far as a 5th-year option, he's definitely getting that.
Yes.
All right, Jacob. Anything else before we head out of here?
No, man. By this time next week, be more free agent moves, or
no,
we're getting in the thick of it.
Yep. Do you think we've signed anyone, or projected to sign anyone by the time we talk next Monday? Do you think there'll be?
We'll have done something.
I mean,
I've done something. I don't know what.
I think that we'll have some of our own players that we've re-signed, but I'm talking about an outside free agent Monday when we can legally tamper. Do you think it's lines are linked to XY player? Do you think that happens?
You said the first day is next Monday?
Yeah.
So it'll be the day we were hoarding in. Right. Yep.
So by the time we call it talk, are we going to be talking about, we're going to be getting this player?
I'm going to say yes. There's going to be some sort of big name that's rumored. Either the player's agent has put it out there that they want to talk to the Lions, or we've put it out there that we want to talk or meet with somebody big.
Yeah. I mean, the signing wouldn't be official, but Cam Sutton was announced, I think, the first day 2 years ago.
Love bringing that up, don't you?
Yeah. Hopefully we get some of his money back.
You got that one penciled in somewhere. How do you know that?
Yeah. So, all right, man. This is it's been a lot of fun talking today. Again, live. Check us out. We're gonna do this Mondays, 9:00. If we can get our kids in bed on time. That was a chore last week. Last week you said your youngest come out and demanded goldfish crackers, Jacob?
Yes. At like 8:45, 8:50-ish. Said, I want goldfish crackers right now. And usually that's a fight. Like, no, you cannot eat goldfish crackers in bed. You need to go to sleep.
Yep.
But I caved last week.
Man, just giving in. Now, do you make them rebrush their teeth after they've had a snack?
Usually they don't get snacks late at night.
Yeah.
No, he did not brush his teeth that night. I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
Just let him sleep with the goldfish cracker in his mouth.
Yeah, Sarah's always makes them rebrush their teeth, and I think that's
very,
her,
very good of her.
Well, I think it's more of a deterrent. Where like, if you eat this, you're gonna have to brush your teeth again, and sometimes the kids will
and they
just
throw a fit about brushing their teeth. Yeah,
they're like, I'm gonna brush my teeth. Yeah,
they don't like brushing their teeth, but I don't think my kids like turning down snacks either. So
I just flashed back to the Office episode where he's talking to the guy in the wheelchair, and he's like, how long does it take you to brush your teeth in the morning? He's like, 30 seconds. He's like, that is like literally twice as long as what it takes. Yeah, great. So, all right. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.